Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk all about heading into the holiday season in Q4. The number one question I'm currently getting is, will we have enough cash to make it through the holidays? Once we get those holiday sales come in, then we'll be okay, but are we going to make it till then? And how do we make it after those holidays during that next January, February, a little bit of a slowdown those months? So what that makes me think about is the verse in Proverbs that says, the plans of the diligent certainly lead to profit, but anyone who is reckless certainly becomes poor. So let's dive in. Here's the truth. Cash flow forecasting isn't about predicting the future, but it's about preparing for it. And God calls us to be diligent planners and not anxious gamblers and just hoping and guessing, right? So the next 13 weeks from now through the holiday peak season will really determine whether you end your year in peace or in panic. My name's Jacob Curtis. I'm a CPA, certified profit first professional and financial guide, and my mission is really simple. It's to help you business owners finally get paid, master your cash flow, and run a business that actually gives you the freedom that you were hoping to get when you started your business. I started Curtis Accounting Solutions because most business owners don't really need more spreadsheets. They need a system or a plan that actually works, even with inventory and seasonal sales and the cash flow chaos that comes with it. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Drop a comment, hit that like video, and let's dive in. So think of your next 13 weeks as your financial trail map. Every week represents 1 mile closer to the year end and things like that. And each step determines how much peace you're going to have when January, February hit. Most outdoor brands and stores ramp up inventory and ads, but forget to check if their cash trail will actually get them to where they want to be, to the summit. And so stewardship means tracking not just sales, but surviving. Are you going to be able to pay your bills and fulfill orders and still make a profit to take home? Here's the trap that I see most often, and that is your revenue graph will spike. So you think that you're winning, but in reality, your bank balance actually drops because cash is tied up in inventory and ad spend. I've seen it hundreds of times. You hit record sales, and then 30 days later, can't pay any supplier. You ran out of money. And so it's not through the math failed, it's just that the timing of that cash flow failed. You can't spend money that's still sitting in unsold gear as inventory sitting on the shelf. Now, if you only do one thing over the next little bit, or this next quarter, do this, and that's forecast your cash flow. Write down what's coming in, what's going out every week for the next 13 weeks. So if your sales forecasters are software this year, don't overbuild your inventory and overspend on ads expecting a big boom. You want to plan a realistic, best case, and lean case scenarios to kind of give you an idea. You want to have 3 different plans in case you need to make some shifts and changes, which you inevitably will have to do. So exactly when things do change and don't come the way you want, you're going to have a plan in place that you can adjust to calmly and not just out of fear and out of panic. So your safety net. Now this one's a non-negotiable. You have to have a safety net, right? Before the rush, create a seasonal cash reserve for every sale that comes in between now and January, maybe even February. We want to start to skim off 10 to 15% and park that into a separate bank account. Using and following the profit first style, where using bank account to manage the cash flow. This becomes your winter cushion or summer saver. Something like that. Whatever it is, we want to make sure that we're setting aside some money so that we have it during the slow season. That way, when the bills come, you are able to pay those off, right? When sales slow down, you still have the cash flow to pay the bills. And that cushion really helps you and keeps you and your faith and your cash all for running super. Too many stores run holiday promos based on excitement and not math, but your ad spend should follow the cash and not lead it. In other words, you don't spend money to make more money. You spend money to follow the trends and what you're seeing in the business. If you haven't seen any trends, we've got to continue to iterate and figure out what those trends are for you and your business and what people want, things like that. So when your bank balance looks strong, you're going to go for it. You're going to use that to figure out what's going to work for you in your store. And when that cash is really tight, that's when you're going to scale back a little bit. You're going to make sure that you understand what the real trends are and go for those. Marketing really shouldn't create more stress. It really should just highlight what rhythms you need to hit and figure out what's marketing trends and things like that, what product trends you need to be following up with and making sure you have it right. And that rhythm is going to help you with your financial health and understanding what to do next. Now, if your inventory balance is double your cash, that should be a warning light to you. You should not have twice as much inventory as cash. You've got too much inventory sitting on the shelf if that's the case, and not enough oxygen. We talked about previously is cash is the oxygen of a business. For many outdoor stores and brands, they often get caught up in this before that peak season. They're betting too much on inventory and what the trends are going to be. And I get that. Like, you do have to ramp up a little bit. However, we want to make sure we're doing it with a plan in place. Remember, we always want that cash to inventory ratio to be as close to a 1-to-1 as we can, while still being able to be flexible and have the inventory on hand. That, again, unsold inventory that's sitting on the shelf doesn't pay your bills. You've got to be able to make sure you're planning properly and forecasting those sales properly, so you know how much to have versus how much not to have. Profit First turns that chaos into some calm. Again, this whole system is based on managing the cash flow of the business, making sure you're not overbuying and undersaving. So twice a month, you're going to move money from your income account into one of your buckets or into all of your buckets. And instantly you'll be able to see what's safe to spend from inventory and operating expenses, and what's there as a reserve for your taxes, for your profit and emergency fund, and for inventory. This rhythm really keeps you and your team disciplined and your holiday cash flow stable, even during these really high turnover, high peak seasons, and helps with those lower slow seasons. So one of my favorite Profit First tools is what I call the PERMS exercise. You go through every single vendor and expense line and label it: P for profit generating, U for unnecessary, R for replaceable, and M for mandatory, like taxes, and then S for anything that's you've already stopped. You look at your expenses for the last year and go through and label each one of these with one of those labels, one of those acronyms, so I call it PERMS. And then we work on cutting the fat before it cuts into your cash. Stewardship isn't stingy, it's just strategic. It takes planning to figure out exactly what it is you do and don't want, and what you do and don't need. So when you forecast your cash, you're not being fearful, you're actually being super faithful and using your resources wisely. God's word tells us due diligence leads to profit, and reckless behavior leads to poverty. So by creating a 13-week cash plan, again, having 3 of them, best case, worst case, and hopefully middle of the road case, you're saying that you trust in God, that you're entrusting him with what you've got. So that's what stewardship looks like in action. If you have any questions or need help or assistance in managing your company's finances, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to help you turn that inventory chaos into some predictable profit and help you experience some real financial freedom. Again, schedule a call with me by scanning QR code or going to jacobcurtiscpa.com and booking a call. I'm more than happy to talk with you and get you the resources that you need. Don't forget to follow me, Jacob Curtis, and Curtis Accounting Solutions on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.